All right. So we have been doing this recently on Friday with our clinics. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share the link to the PDF that we'll be using today for you guys to follow along if you'd like. That way you can follow along, watch the videos, all that kind of fun stuff while we're talking. So the link is in the chat if you'd like to follow along. So first off, I hope everyone is healthy and safe. Thank you for all your support. It truly means a lot to all of us. It's going to be a lot of fun today. And as always, I will be going back and forth just to make sure everyone's in. Looks like everyone's in for right now. So let's get started. So, kind of refresher from last week when we talked about forward starts. Why are starts and breakouts important? Well, fastest you'll ever be in a race is off the start. So, we've talked this a lot. The better your start is, the more free speed you'll have early on. You don't have to work as hard those first 15 meters. Now, the purpose of breakouts is to transfer the speed from the start and underwater onto the surface. So if the fastest you'll ever be is off the start, your underwaters are to try to keep that momentum, keep that speed going, and the breakout is to transfer that speed onto the surface. So you only get one start in a race, but how many breakouts do you get? Think about one of your favorite races. A 50 free short course, you still get 2 breakouts. So the breakouts are really important in a race, especially the longer ones. Let's see if everyone's in. We got to get Gabby Blake in here. So we have our backstroke start kind of catechisms. These aren't on any sheets, but these are the things that we like to look for. Got to make sure that our eyes are straight. We are looking straight ahead, kind of at the block almost. You want to pull yourself up with your arms and you want to load them. Pull yourself up out of the water. You want your back to be nice and straight. You want your hips up. You don't want to be nice. You don't want to be deep in the water. You want your hips up. If you look at the picture down here, his hips are completely out of the water and his feet are close to the surface. So this is a fantastic backstroke start position right here. This is Junya Koga. So his eyes are looking straight. His arms are pulled and loaded. His hips are right at the surface or higher. And then his feet are right at the surface as well. So this is a perfect start. He's ready to go. Just like we talked about with streamline and our forward starts, a backstroke start should not feel comfortable. You should feel tense. You should feel tight. You should feel loaded and ready to go. It should be take your mark. Oh, I could do this for so long. It should be take your mark and you're holding on. You're ready to go. So let's make sure everyone's in. Perfect. So this is a great photo right here. We're going to be watching this video quite a bit. So Coach's Corner. So how you start. The first thing you're going to do, you're in this nice tight position, this nice, great starting position. First thing you're going to do is you're going to throw your head back. You're going to throw it back. So if you see right here in this picture, his hands are still on the block. His feet are still on the wall. But look at where his head is now. He's gone from looking straight ahead to now his head is starting to get thrown back. He's moving his head back. Eyes are no longer looking straight ahead. Hands are still on the block. Feet are still on the wall. So now look at here. This is the next part. You want to push and throw with your arms. So now look at this position right here. His head is back. He's throwing with his arms. His arms are off the block. Look at his feet. They're still on the wall. The feet are still on the wall. A lot of the times I see with young backstroke starters, they like to try to move everything at once. Or they try to move their feet first. Head, arms, that. Hands are up, head's back, feet are still on the wall. Then you drive with your legs. Drive. Now this is very, very important. Look where he's driving. He is driving straight with his legs. His hips are what are going up. If you slip on a backstroke start, that usually means that you're pushing up with your legs. If you're slipping, that means you are pushing up. Your feet are going down because you're pushing up. You want to push nice and straight. So when you are starting with your backstroke start, you want to push your legs straight, not down. You don't want to push them down because you're going to slip. Notice how he is. Nice and straight. His body is arched. Look how high he's getting out of the water. Look at his fingertips are entering first. Look at that. That's a beautiful arch right there. And then finally, you want to kick the legs up. So notice here, his feet just went from the wall to up in the air. There's a fun drill that we used to do. It's kind of hard to do now, but it's you take a light, almost water polo ball, stand on a block, and the person on the block drops it as the person does a backstroke start, and they try to kick the ball straight up in the air. A little hard to do, but that's the idea. You want to be kicking those legs up. You don't want to drag them through the water. That nice clean entry, not a lot of splash. It's gorgeous. So, how do we do the start again? Throw the head back. Throw with the arms. Push and throw with the arms. Drive with the legs, nice and straight. And then kick the legs up. Throw the head. Push the arms. Drive with the legs. Then kick them up. So we're going to make sure everyone's in. Fantastic. Then we're going to watch this. Watch this in slow motion here. Like I said, we're going to use this video a lot. This is a fantastic video to use. We're just going to have it on loop. Just have it on repeat. So he's in a great position. Head, arms, feet. Look at him kick up. Just going to keep it going for a little bit. Notice his hips is what's driving up. It's what's creating that arch. He doesn't have to kick or push with his legs to get the arch. It's coming from the hips. Ooh, sounds like someone's about to join. Fantastic. So if you can see there, driving with the legs forward. Great backstroke setup. Throw the head, push the arms. And if you are able to tell, one of the things that he does a great job of is when he throws his head back, he doesn't just keep throwing it back. He adjusts, because if you keep throwing the head back, you're going to do a backflip basically in the water. So you want to throw the head back, but you want to make sure you're not breaking your neck throwing it all the way back. He enters in a nice, good streamline. Throws his head back, gets his arms there, kicks up. But the biggest thing, we always talk about it, you got to win the setup. If you win the setup, you can win the start. This is fantastic. Now, we're going to pause it here. We're going to go back. One thing I want us to look at, we're going to come back to this video. One thing I want us to look at is the second part of Coach's Corner, which is scooping the hips. We talked about it last week with our dives. We want to make sure that the direction that we're always pointing is straight. Your hands are always pointing straight. You are pointing straight. You're not pointed down. You're not pointed up. So the biggest thing is to scoop the hips. When you are entering in backstroke, your hands are automatically pointing down because of the way you enter. You have to scoop your hips. You almost have to think about it like a ice cream scooper. Scoop your hips, and that'll help you point straight with your hands. If you can always tell if you're not scooping your hips because you just keep going straight down. Enter, nice tight streamline, scoop the hips, and you're going to point your hands forward. So let's watch it again one more time, a couple more times. Whoop. Get Alex Frickin here. Excellent. So we're going to watch this. Watch as he enters how his hips kind of start to scoop. They start to level out, so his hands start to go forward. You can kind of tell underwater because his hands are pointing forward. So he throws his head back, pushes his arms, drives the legs. Look at that. You can tell he starts to scoop by the way his feet enter. Let's see if I can get a good pause right here. Great start. So pause right here. You can already tell, look where his hands are pointed, right down here. They're already started to point a little bit straight. His angle has already changed. Look at, you can tell. He went from a nice arch Now his body's in kind of two segments. Two segments. So we pause it again. Now look at that. He's really starting to scoop. You can tell. Feet are here. Hips are a little bit lower, but look where his hands are. You can tell kind of down here, they're pointed straight. They are pointed straight. And he's not dropping his hips and he's not splatting the water. He's scooping with his hips. You can tell if he were to drop his hips because his legs would drop with it. And look at there. Look at that great angle right here. Look at his legs are nice and straight here. Hips are right at the surface, about to go down. And look at where his body is. You can tell hands are pointed straight. You can tell that he's scooping those hips. He's not dropping them. He's scooping them like an ice cream scooper. And then boom, there we go. Look at that. Legs are still straight. Underwater. Get that out of the way. Look how nice and straight he is underwater. Enters nice and clean. Pointed forward. Great job. So it's not a drop. You're not going from a nice arch to just splatting back first on the water. It's a scoop of the hips. You can tell if you do this, like I said, if you just keep going down. If you keep going down, 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 you're not doing a good job of scooping with your hips. So hands enter, and you start right away. Remember, your feet want to enter the same hole as your hands. And the best way to do that is by scooping those hips. Enter nice and level so that when your feet are in the water, you're just kicking forward right away. It's a beautiful start. So we're going to come back to this video in a little bit. We're going to watch some video here. So we talked about last week that just because if you have a great dive doesn't always mean you're going to have a great race. Or and vice versa. If you have a bad start, you can overcome that. So one of the examples we're going to look at is Missy Franklin. So I want to show you this video real quick before we watch the start and the whole race. So this is Missy Franklin right here in the black cap. Look at it. They all have a great setup. Not a big fan of the eyes looking this way, but it's all good. Look at that. Backs are straight. Hips are out of the water. Eyes are looking dead ahead. They're all looking great. I'm going to try. Now I want to see if I can pause it. So everyone's driving forward. Look at that. Head, arms, legs are all still on the wall. But I want you to look at what happens with Missy Franklin. Look at that. Her feet are still in the water. Feet are still in the water. Look at how much of a splash she has because she's not gotten her feet out of the water yet. Look at that. Everyone has corrected their head position. So they're a nice streamline. Look at where her head is compared to her arms. The tip of her cap is on the surface of the water. Hands are not in streamline. Feet are still in the water. This start is kind of a disaster. Kind of a disaster when you compare it to everybody else. Remember, this is at the Olympics. This is the 8 fastest women in the world at this point. And look at her start. Look at that. Her feet are still in the water. Her head hit the water first. Now, we just watched Junior Koga. His hands are what entered the water first. Missy Franklin's head was the first thing to hit the water. Look at that. Her feet are still in the water. Look at that. She's not starting to scoop her hips. She has this weird looking arch, and her head's already in the water. Her arms are already in the water. And if you look at the other people, their arches aren't nearly as crazy, and they're starting to scoop their hips already. Look at that. Her feet are still in the water. And now they kick out. So look at that. That is for one of the best backstrokers in U.S. history, that is a terrible, terrible start. Everything we just talked about is kind of off. So by all means, this is not a good start. Head enters first. Feet are still in the water. But now let's watch the rest of this race. We just watched great examples with Junior Koga. We watched a example with Missy Franklin. Oops. There we go. So I'm going to post this in the chat so you guys can follow along. If you'd like to watch the video, feel free. You get some good commentary as well. So like we just watched a great backstroke start with Junior Koga. We just watched a backstroke start with Missy Franklin. But like we talked about last week, we can overcome bad starts. A bad start doesn't mean a bad race. The race starts at about about let's see here, about the 340 mark is when they get in the water. So you can overcome a bad start. It doesn't help. It's hard to overcome it, but you can. So let's watch here. So that was what we just saw. We just watched that start. And look how far back she is. We talked about starts. You have a great job. You have a great benefit of having free speed of that first 15 meters. Look how far back she is. She's about half a body length. Remember, this is a 100 back. And the title gives it away about what happens. But you saw how far back she was. So imagine how far ahead she would be if she had a good start. She's in third right now. She's tied for second. Imagine how better of a swim it would have been had she had a better start, but you can overcome a bad start. It's hard, but you can do it. It also helps when you're 6'4". Look at that. She's charging. She does a great job executing her race. And she wins. Great swim. Probably one of the 5 or 6 fastest times of all time. But like we saw, her start was the worst in the field. So you can overcome a bad start in your race. But like we saw, it certainly helps to have a good start. She probably could have gone like 57 with the better start. You can overcome a bad start. So we're going to watch a couple more videos. We're getting to some breakouts. We're going to watch Ryan Murphy. Now, this is a great example of how to scoop your hips underwater. I'll put it in the chat. You guys can follow along if you'd like. So I want you guys to notice right away, if you're watching my screen, their start position. Look at lane 1 right here. Sorry, lane 2. Right here. Eyes forward, back nice and straight, arms are loaded. He's using the wedge just like we use them now. Feet are close to the surface. See if I can give it a good pause here. So you look at that. He's entering. Nice, clean arch. He's starting, look at that. You can already tell he's starting to scoop his hips by his hands. He's kicking his feet out of the water. Look at that. He's entering a little, much clearer than Missy Franklin, a little more like Junior Koga. And look at that. Already scooped his hips. They're already nice and straight. The real money shot here is those first 4 or 5 seconds. When you can tell they enter and then they immediately are straight. That's how you can tell they're scooping those hips. Check the setup. Look at that, nice and straight. Win the setup, like we talked about. You win the setup, you have a better chance of winning the start. Throw the head back, throw with the arms, drive with the legs, hands enter first, scoop the hips. And look at that, there's a perfect shot. If you can see my screen right now, look at where their hands are pointing right now when they first enter. They're pointing down. They're pointing down. And then as they go, see, they're scooping those hips. They're already pointed nice and straight. Now, the better underwater kicker you are, you can kick a little bit further down. You got to make sure you correct it, or else you will just continue to go straight down. And look at that. In about a second to two, about a second and a half, they went from about pointing down to nice and straight. That's scooping those hips. Great swim. Awesome. All right, one more video, and then we'll go to the breakouts. This is the same guy. This is Junior Koga. You guys would like to follow along with the video, you're more than welcome to. Just post it in the chat. This is just the same video we watched. It's just a great example to show how much power and how far you can get with a good backstroke start. So if you can see, there's a little bit of a rod right a little bit further past the tee, at the tee or a little bit further back. And he's able to clear it with his hips. It's at the University of Michigan pool. This is where he trained most of the time. Look at that. He was able to just throw and get over that little piece of plastic on the lane lines. And you can tell that he's scooping his hips because he's able to get his feet over that little pole. If he wasn't, like kind of like we saw with Missy Franklin, if he wasn't able to drive with those feet and scoop with those hips, they would just hit the pole right away because they'd be dragging in the water. So this is a great video to watch just to see how he's doing it. I believe he was the world record holder in the 50 back for a pretty long time. He might still be it. But he's one of the best 50 backstrokers long course of all time. And a lot of it has to do with how good of a start he has, because that is gorgeous. Look how far he's getting. Look how clean he enters. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, awesome. Make sure everyone's in. Fantastic. We're going to move on to some breakouts now. We're going to kind of go over all the breakouts, kind of talk about them, then we'll have some fun at the end with some trivia. So, we talked about it earlier. The breakouts, the purpose of them is to transfer the speed from the dive and underwaters into swimming. The fastest you ever be is off the dive. The underwaters are trying to maintain that speed, maintain that momentum, and the breakout is to transfer that into swimming. So there's an analogy that I always use. I always use the same analogy. So we're going to watch this video real quick for the analogy. Post it in the chat if you guys want to follow along. So this is the analogy right here. It's Mario Kart. This is the analogy. So if you're watching my screen right now, he's hitting these arrows. That's what a breakout is. You want to hit those arrows on that breakout. You get a little bit of burst of speed. You get a little bit of boom. If you nail that breakout, you're going to get a little burst of speed. You'll be able to maintain that speed from your underwaters and from your dive. Now, if you don't hit the arrows, if you don't nail the breakout, your breakout's a little early or a little late, that's okay. You're not gonna go crazy slow, but you're not gonna be able to maintain that speed as much as you can, as much as you could if you had nailed it. So breakouts are a very important part of your race. Like we talked about, you get a lot more of those than starts in a race. In a 100 back short course, you get 4 breakouts and only 1 start. So this is the analogy I use. You want to nail that breakout just like you want to hit the arrows in Mario Kart. It's like we said, if you hit it, boom. If you miss it, that's okay. You'll still go with the same speed. Maybe go a little slower, but you won't get that clean breakout. You won't get that little burst of energy, a little burst of speed. So for free and back, we like to talk about step 4 breakouts. Speaking of breakouts and streamline, I hope those streamlines have been getting better at home. Hope you guys are getting taller and stronger with those streamlines. Remember, they need to be tight and long, not slumped over and lazy. So step 4 breakouts. The first thing you want to do is you want to have a nice and tight streamline. Nice and tight. Stomach stuck in, like we talked about. Eliminate that arch in your back. Be nice and tight, nice and tall. After you have your streamline, you're going to add your dolphin kick. Then you go your streamline, then you go dolphin kick, then you go into flutter kick. Then this 4th step, you want to streamline, dolphin kick, flutter kick into your first stroke. Streamline, dolphin kick, flutter kick, then your first stroke. If you go streamline right into flutter kick, you're going to lose all your dolphin kick speed. You're going to slow down a little bit. If you go dolphin kick into first stroke, you're going to miss out on that transfer, that little transfer of flutter kick. Kick yourself to the surface and then break out. So that's our step 4 breakouts. Tight streamline, add the dolphin kicks, add the flutter kicks into your first stroke. So coach's corner. So here we go. When you are in breaking out, you want to keep that top arm tight and streamlined as you begin the first stroke. So you see the little picture here. We're going to watch the video in a little bit. You notice this top arm is in streamline. So if you're doing freestyle, you're breaking out that bottom arm. That top arm is still nice and tight with streamline. So let's take a look right here. This is Courtney Harsh. We've watched a lot of her videos. So let's take a look. So she is, look at that. She's dolphin kicking. She's flutter kicking. Top arm is still in streamline. It's a nice step 4 breakout. Dolphin kick into flutter kick. Starts her stroke. Boom. Top arm is still in streamline. You want to keep that top arm still in streamline. Remember, you want to be nice and narrow. Swim through the traffic cone. Don't let it sweep out. Don't let it cross over. Stay nice and tight. Dolphin kick, into flutter kick, into first stroke. Excellent. Excellent. You want to be explosive with your breakouts. It's more about speed than it is about power. Remember, we want to transfer the energy, transfer the speed, transfer the momentum from the underwaters onto the surface. So it's about speed. That first stroke's got to be quick. It's not so much about, all right, let me grab as much water as I can, and then this will be a really powerful breakout. You're going to slow yourself down a little bit when you do that. It's got to be about speed, got to be about explosive, getting up onto that surface. That first stroke should be right as the back of your head or the front of your face in backstroke is about to break the water. So a lot of these pictures you can see in backstroke are really cool of the kind of water kind of covering their face as they're about to break out. Almost looks like a bubble. That is when they're starting their breakouts. You can kind of see here in the picture, look over this great position. His top arm is about to break the surface. His head's right there, about to break the surface. He's starting that catch with his other hand. I'm not crazy about his feet to point to the side, but look at his arm and his head. He's breaking through that surface nice and strong. So we're going to watch a couple of breakouts here. Let's see here. So we're watching Junior Koga again. Great breakout right here. We're going to watch it together. There's one more video we're going to watch that Coach Bill actually showed me, and it's awesome. So you notice on his backstroke breakout here, he's exploding onto the surface. He's getting that shoulder out, and he is throwing. He's driving with his body. It's not so much he's using just his arm. It's his whole body. That stays nice and tight with his arm in streamline, and he just explodes onto that surface. Boom. It's an explosive movement. It's not a slow, deliberate, let me grab my water, let me get to the surface. It is fingertips pointing towards the wall, driving towards your legs, getting that hand up fast. Really about being explosive. Got one more video to watch. This one's going to be a little slow motion, so hopefully you guys can get a little better view of it. This is from above, so you'll be able to tell really nice how he's doing it. Boom. Nice tight streamline. Starts to catch. He's right at the surface when that hand breaks out. You want to be explosive. You want to get on top of that water. Transfer the speed from your start or from your turn, from your underwaters, into your breakout, into your swimming. Boom. Notice how his first stroke, he's getting his chest nice and high, nice out of the water. He's not being low. He's being nice and high. Fantastic. Fantastic. So we talked a lot about free and back. So now we're going to talk a little bit about breaststroke and butterfly. So the biggest thing is as you're finishing your pull down, this is specifically for breaststroke, you want to keep your head neutral. You don't want to look up. So if you can see the picture down here of Daniel Roy, this is just after he finished his pull down. He's about to start his first stroke. He's keeping his head neutral. He's not looking up, seeing where he's going. And he's not burying his head. It's in neutral. Look how where he's at the surface of the water. He's right there. He's about to start his first stroke. Just like in breaststroke and butterfly, your stroke wants to go forward. Your first stroke's got to be about you going forward, not up and not down. First stroke's about going forward, transferring that speed. The timing, the first stroke should be as you're about to break the surface of the water. Breaststroke and butterfly the same way. As freestyle and back. First stroke is as you're breaking the surface of the water. And once again, it's about speed and explosive over power. Boom, right into your first stroke. Right into your first stroke. So we're going to watch a couple of videos for this. We're going to start with the Daniel Roy video. To that great picture from it. So here we go. So he dove in, does his pull down, finishes right into his first stroke. So there's no delay. He finishes his pull down, rides his kick for a split second, right into his stroke. A lot of the times I'll see breaststrokers either wait too long or too little before taking that first stroke. You want to wait that perfect amount of time so you start that first stroke before you begin to slow down. The moment before you begin to slow down. Not when you slow down, the moment before you begin. So that's going to take a lot of practice to figure out when that moment is. That's you practicing your pull downs in practice, figuring out, all right, when's the part I slow down, and find the point before that to start swimming. Because if you hold that pull down forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, you're going to slow down. But if you do your pull down, finish your kick, and right away start swimming, you're going to lose a little bit of that speed and power. That first stroke happens the moment before you begin to slow down. Not when you slow down, the moment before you slow down. Before you begin to slow down. Right away, get into that swimming. So that's a good example of breaststroke. Now we're going to watch a good example of butterfly. So we're going to go to Michael Phelps. I think he's pretty good at butterfly. So we're going to watch how he breaks out. Does his great underwater kicks. He's right at the surface. And you can tell because his feet are about to break the surface with his dolphin kicks. And he starts his swimming right away. Kicks. He keeps his breakout tight. He doesn't let his arms go really wide. That's the thing I see a lot with butterflyers on their breakouts. The first thing they do is they push out. Stay narrow. Stay within your body line. Explode onto the surface. Do it right as the back of that head is close to breaking that surface of the water. Then his kick's about to break the surface. You can see some bubbles. Boom. Not when his head breaks the surface, but like we talked about in breaststroke, the moment before it begins to break out. So once again, that's going to take a lot of practice figuring out when that moment is and how to really make sure you're going forward, not breaching the surface like a whale and going straight up and back down. Make sure you are going forward. Stay narrow. Stay explosive. Stay speedy. All right, watch it one more time. Then we'll go into some video, some race video. Boom. It is such a great surge nailing that breakout. He's really hitting that arrow in Mario Kart. Boom. Great job. So let's watch some race video. Make sure everyone's in. Fantastic. So let's see here. Ooh, here we go. Watch some Kosuke Kitajima. So this is some breaststroke. Watch it and put it in the chat if you guys want to watch along. So this is some breaststroke. It's underwater view. It's all underwater view. I want you to look for the moment when he starts his pull down. You can tell the moment before he begins to slow down is when he takes that first stroke. And the first stroke is always about going forward. It's never about going up or going down. It's about going forward. And it's just a great breaststroke video to watch because, like we talked about in our breaststroke clinic, he was one of the best breaststrokers of all time. So here we go. About to do his turn if you're watching my screen. Does his pull down, rides that kick, boom! Attacks that first stroke. He goes forward. Doesn't go up, doesn't go down, goes forward, that first stroke. This is a great shot of that video. Great shot. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to take last one we're going to watch before we get into some trivia. We're going to watch one of the fastest 50 frees ever. Well, it is the fastest 50 free ever. It's just short course. Caleb Dressel 50 free. Feel free to follow along. I just put the video in the chat. This just shows you how great it is to hit those breakouts, especially in a short course 50 free. You maintain that speed so well. Fastest you'll ever be off in a race is off your start and off your turn. Underwaters to help transfer that speed and momentum. Breakout, keep it going. So you can tell he's doing his great underwaters. And that first stroke, he's not going slow with that first stroke. He's going right in. He's going full speed into that first stroke. It's not about slow and deliberate and how much water can I hold on to. It's about getting up on that surface and going. Great underwaters, right into a great first stroke. And you can tell off that dive, he is surging forward with that first stroke. He's not just kind of maintaining his speed. He is surging forward with that first stroke. So we'll watch it one more time. Watch it off the start, how when he does his breakout stroke, his head surges forward. Just incredible. It's a 50 free, and he's over a body length ahead of everybody. That's just incredible. Incredible. And the second place guy went like 18 something. When did the second place guy go? 18.6. And he was a body length ahead of everybody. Just ridiculous. Awesome. So, quick review of kind of things we've talked about. We've talked about a lot today. Backstroke start. Eyes straight. Arms pulled and loaded. Keep your back nice and straight. Your hips are up. Your feet are close to the surface. You start with throwing the head back. You push with the arms. Your feet are still on the wall. Your toes are still on the wall. Drive with your legs. The arch comes from your hips, not from your feet. Kick your legs up. Scoop the hips. Point your hands forward. The breakouts, you want to transfer that speed from your dive and turns and underwaters into swimming. It's like hitting that area in Mario Kart. Boom! You nail it, you get a little burst of speed. You surge forward a little bit. Talked about our step forward breakouts. Keep your streamline nice and tight. Add your dolphin kick, add your flutter kick into your first stroke. When you start to take that first stroke, keep that arm nice and tight. Don't let it sway to the side or cross over. It's about speed and power, more about being explosive. Sorry, it's about speed and explosiveness more than power. Speed and explosive over power. The first stroke should be right as the back of your head is about to break the water or the front of your face in backstroke. For breaststroke and butterfly, keep the head nice and neutral. Stay nice and tight. Don't let yourself get really wide. You want to swim through the traffic cone. And once again, it's about speed and explosive over power. Find that moment before you begin to slow down. That's when you want to start that first stroke and breaststroke. So, we're now going to do some trivia. So once again, do not spam your answer in the chat. Just one answer will do just fine. And we'll be ready to go here. So let's get started. Let's see, where is it? Present. Here we go. So what's not a catechism for a backstroke start? This one should be pretty easy. Is it A, eyes straight, B, arms loaded, C, flare the feet, or D, hips up? What's not a catechism for a backstroke start? Is it A, eyes straight, B, arms loaded, C, flare the feet, or D, hips up? It's not a catechism. All right, let's take a look. It is C, flare the feet. That is a breaststroke catechism. Hope we got that one. Here we go. What do you do with your hips in a backstroke start? You want to A, scoop, or B, sink? What do you do with your hips in a backstroke start? Think about when you're entering the water. We talked a lot about it. Your hands want to point straight. Your body needs to be going straight. So what do you do with your hips? Do you scoop them or do you sink them? Scoop or sink? Hey guys, we got this one. We talked a lot about it. You want to scoop your hips. A, scoop your hips. What kind of breakouts do you do in freestyle and backstroke? You're going to do A, a step 3 breakout, B, a step 4 breakout, or C, hope that it works out? Step 3 breakout, step 4 breakout, or hope that it works out? Man, this is gonna be kind of random. I hope I nail it. I hope I hit that area with Mario Kart. Step 3, step 4, or hope that it works out. Cross your fingers, take that first stroke, and hopefully you're on that surface. Let's see. Hopefully we got this one. B, a step 4 breakout. Streamline, dolphin kick, flutter kick, first stroke. Step 4 breakout. What is the most important part of a breakout? Is it slow and deliberate? Is it slow and powerful? Is it wait till you're on the surface? I kicked myself up to the surface. Or is it D, speed and explosive? What is the most important part of a breakout? Slow and deliberate, where you're really thinking, all right, I'm going to grab this water here. I'm going to go here. Nice, take my time, get on the surface. Is it slow and powerful, where you're trying to grab as much water as you can? Is it C, I'll just start swimming when I get to the surface? Or is it D, speed and explosive? Let's see what we... It is D, speed and explosive. Speed and explosive. Excellent. Hopefully we all did a... Let's see how we did on these answers here. D, I like to see D. B's, good. A's, C's. Excellent. You guys rock. These are getting good. You guys have a great presenter. So, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Hopefully you guys got to enjoy outside. We'll see you guys on Friday. Please sign up for some race analysis. It's so much fun when you guys submit either your own races or a race you just found on YouTube. It's a lot of fun that way. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Hope you guys are all safe. Hope you guys are all having fun, staying up with your schoolwork. We'll see you all very soon. So thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you guys soon. This will be on YouTube if you want to come back and watch it a little bit later.